distractions and deflections.
Exactly.
You know, the idea, I mean, I hear Eddie Hearn saying things about me, and I think, what's that got to do with the question? What? Because I lost a bunch of money in a football club, we can then talk about the idea that I'm not in a position to be able to question you about the manner in which you've operated. We understand with Eddie Hearn, and by the way, let's get something clear. I like Eddie Hearn. I think he's a first-class promoter in a lot of things he does. But the bottom line is, and I don't have a particular patronage of Frank Warren or Ben Shalom. They may talk to us more because he doesn't make himself available. He tells people that he wasn't invited on our show when he was invited repeatedly. He doesn't want to come on this show because he knows that when he gets given a question, the answer that will come back will be interrogated. And the idea that he can't speak to Conor Benn's situation because of legal situations, that's fine. Okay, let's not talk about Conor Ben. Let's talk about your conduct. Let's talk about a blue chip promoter that seems to be in the camp of allowing a fight to go on, a fight that had a real duty of care responsibility behind it because it was a catch weight fight with a lot of controversy about the weights, so there was a real need to make sure these fighters were protected. And you appear to have been in the camp of allowing that fight to go on when you knew on September the 23rd that a drugs test had been failed. Not an adverse finding, a failed drug test. And you want to talk about Billy Joe Saunders as a deflection and what happened with him. Billy Joe Saunders got sanctioned initially for an out-of-competition drug that wasn't banned unilaterally. And there was an explanation for it. It was a nasal decongestion. There might have been something sinister behind it, but there's an explanation. Now give us an explanation of why a women's fertility drug is inside Conor Benn's system. The last thing I want to have happen to Conor Ben, who I personally really like, was this situation to manifest itself. But if he wants to clear himself, it's really, really simple, guys. Give him a B sample and stand in front of them and tell them what happened. Or are you frightened that you might be bringing a whole house of cards down with you that brings a whole raft of other people in there? It can't surely be the way, who's ever advising him, to say, I will tear up my British boxing licence rather than clear my name. And Eddie suggesting that these are questions and these are validity behind the idea that they're not. Look, a promoter of this ilk has a responsibility to run their business with the highest efficacy. And if you are suggesting to me that you can go to Chris Eubank and say, are you happy with this banned substance being in another fighter? Okay, we'll let the fighters determine which banned substances they'll allow other fighters to fight with. And that's an argument.
Yes.
It's preposterous.
Why would Conor Ben voluntarily give up his boxing licence?
Because then ultimately he's not in a situation at this moment in time where he's having to answer explicitly and specifically to the British box. And by the way, who cares who leaked this? That's another deflection. The fact of the matter, it landed in the public domain, and the reasons why the fight was stopped, because if it was going to be stopped and Eddie and his little gang were going to stop it, then they should have stopped selling tickets and commercial sponsorship during the period of the 23rd of September to the 5th of October. There was no intention to stop this fight. The only reason it stopped is because it landed in the public domain, and quite frankly, who cares? And listen, here's another thing that needs to be debunked that I heard yesterday. The idea that Conor Ben voluntarily signed up to the VADA testing. Conor Ben was excluded from the top 15 of the WBC last year because he refused to sign up to it. He wanted to be in the top 15 of the WBC. It's mandatory to sign up to VADA. So by being in the top 15 of the WBC, he has to sign up to VADA. So it wasn't this one, well, he wouldn't do this stuff because he voluntarily knew that he was going to be tested randomly. But to be in the top 15 of the WBC, you have to sign up to VADA. And Eddie and his cohorts that aren't answering questions and that are hiding behind, it's legalese. Okay, we'll leave Conor out of it. Let's talk about you and what you did and how you were behind some of the things that were going on. And then we can clear up your behaviour, because you are supposed to hold this sport in the highest moral condition that it can be in. And there's some, and then to go off about Chris Eubank Sr. and to try and find a way to say, well, discredit what he's saying. This is fundamentally wrong, and it's deflection. And then you get into other territories about who was successful in one business, who wasn't successful in another. Boxing, surely to God, at the top end of the pyramid needs to be better than this, doesn't it?
We need things to come out of this specifically, Simon. We need detail. I mean,
who's ever advising Conor, I don't understand. Well, I think they're scrambling away to get him out of the focus. Whether he's going to go to Australia, where his dad is, and try and get licensed over there. Whether he's going to try and go somewhere else. I don't know what it is, but what he doesn't appear to be doing is addressing the fundamental issue. And give him a B sample.
And the
go and explain.
Upheld allegations of misconduct on Conor Ben's part.
And
what does that mean?
I have no idea. They're trying to deflect, and I've been very critical of the British Boxing Board of Control, and I really don't care whether Robert Smith leaked that situation or not. I think that's the utter irrelevance. It's a deflection. That doesn't alter the fact there was a failed drugs test and no one's done anything to disprove it, and no one was trying to stop the fight.
Well, yeah, in his statement, Connor strongly refutes the allegation of misconduct, which, for the avoidance of doubt, is not in relation to the VADA drugs test. So what's it in relation to?
So what is the allegation of misconduct then? And this unfair bias? Why in God's name would a British Boxing Board of Control, which in my opinion are like, it's a contradiction in terms, but I'll say it, neutered eunuchs, right? Why would they suddenly get a set of balls and take it out on Connor? It's because he failed a drug test. Please, for the love of God, give this kid an opportunity to clear his name if there's an opportunity to do it. But it's not helping with all this subterfuge, misdirection and failure to answer questions and then blaming everybody else. It's not difficult, this, and it's only difficult if tragically, and I do think there's a house of cards here. If this boy was taking substances, others will know and others will be involved, and it will bring a pack of cards down on people that maybe they don't want.